Warning: bad or taboo language.
Recording in progress.
Well done. We're there.
And we're on.
We're not making the
Hello.
same. And this is what life is about. It's not making the same mistakes twice, isn't it? Eh? So
Which I did.
learn
Um,
from when things go wrong. Yeah.
what our viewer doesn't know is that we've been speaking for 3 hours now without recording it.
I wouldn't have the stamina, I don't think. It finished me off the last time. I was pretty knackered coming off the call. I was like, bloody hell, man. I didn't think it was that exhausting, but I was pretty pooped actually, to be fair.
So,
Yeah.
on the subject of pooped, welcome to the Woo Woo Weirdo Club. Everybody who is watching or who is going to watch, thank you for watching. And by now, this is episode 4. You should know that this is some language, some esoteric, or at least to us, discussion that may or may not interest a wider audience. And from episode 1, normal is not the territory.
Mm.
What have you been thinking about this week, Matt?
Um, Not a lot, to be fair. Um, my brain has been full, absolutely full. Um, Doing my permaculture course, which you know about. Just finished that off, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was nice. But it was interesting. You shared something on your YouTube channel and on Instagram yesterday, wasn't it? And that was from me about you. But
Yes.
interestingly, the day before, and this will loop back round to what you posted, I was thinking about breathing. Well, I've been thinking about breathing quite a lot recently, actually, and how I kind of preach about breathing a lot, but don't actually practice it as much as I probably should. Not that there's any side, just kind of should, because like as a yoga teacher, people probably expect you to be, some sort of master of the universe or something like that, but it's not always the case. Um, there's not enough hours in the day, is there, to practice all the schools of yoga, all the kriyas and breathing and blah blah blah. So it's and we all have strong points and weaker points, and breathing is one of my weaker points. But I have been doing some kind of experiments and tests with breathing, and I was in the sauna the other day and watched my heart rate up at 130, and then I started doing a breathing exercise and brought it down to 80 BPM in about 5 6 minutes. So that
In a
was really
sauna.
in the sauna, yeah, still in the sauna. So I'm just exploring it and like the power of it and stuff like that. But this is where it kind of comes back to what you shared, um, which was my feedback from our QHHT session that we had a few months back. And how the channel I've got is quite open, and
Mm.
it's more open than what I realize. I just choose not to listen to it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that does that. We have this open line communication, but I always talk about breath work a heck of a lot, and I know that it would benefit me a heck of a lot. And I'm just starting to catch up with the subconscious, which communicates. And if you look at Steve's channel or either of our Instagram channels, you will see the feedback that I left about Steve. And that was one of the biggest realizations that come out of the QHHT session that I had with you was that, we are connected, and that little voice that we have running in the background can be the voice that we need to listen to if we just start to trust our intuition and our gut feeling and trust that inner innate intelligence. So it was just a nice, because then the next day you obviously
Mm.
posted, you said I'm sharing the feedback, and then I watched the feedback yesterday and I was like, bloody hell, that's what I was that's what I was thinking about
Yeah.
yesterday.
And I'm
So
gonna put
again,
that was a short version of it,
mm,
which my son edited for me.
yeah.
Which is why it was done all right, as opposed to my attempts. But there's a longer version, a slightly longer version. I
Mm,
don't think it's the full. I don't think we kept everything from what you said, but I think the
hmm.
longer version is probably more or less everything that you said. I'm going to put that up on Friday. So thank you very
Yeah.
much for giving me that, and thank you for
No, thank you. Mm,
collaborating.
yeah.
But just to, it's interesting what you say, just. And I'll pick out a few bits of interest to me that I was listening to. Number one, everything is connected, keeps coming
Hmm.
round and round and round with us.
It does.
We talked about it in episode 3, and it's probably come up in all of these episodes, and we already know that we talk about it all the time. So that
Yeah.
was number one that struck me with what you just said there.
Hmm.
No, now I've just got to remember my train of thought. Um, breath work. That is essential. Well, you are very good at it. You teach it very well.
Mm.
I can attest to that from being in your classes and on retreats that you've run.
Mm.
And it's interesting to me that the old adage of practice what you preach or do as I say, not as I do, appears to be in place somewhat here.
Hmm.
Because you're saying you know full well that you teach it, and then you're like, well, but I need to practice it more. I
Yeah.
don't know what you do outside of the times that I'm in contact with you.
Mm.
What I can say, and we can only talk in our majority of one to keep the theme going from episode 1. From my majority of one point of view, I know I don't do it enough consciously.
Mm.
Um, but I do try to help other people. Like for already, like golf is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I've like spoken to somebody on a golf tee where they see that they're getting like your sauna experience
Hmm.
for a slightly different reason, probably. Your blood, not your blood pressure, but your heart rate's elevated because of the heat, right?
Hmm.
And I've seen them, yeah, yeah. But it's amazing that, did you say it's basically you got it down by half of the
Like
rate,
50,
right?
50 BPM, yeah. 50 BPM it dropped, yeah, in about 6, 7 minutes.
Which is almost, what was it to what? Did it finish
It was
at
was it 130 or 120?
30 to 80?
Maybe it was 120 to 8, I can't remember
We
now, but
can
yeah, it's
watch the
down to
video
80
back,
anyway.
but
Yeah.
there's
I
no
said
live.
130, but it might have been 120. I can't remember now. But
It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
it,
A
it was
significant amount. Mm.
it was a significant amount, yeah, and I was bloody impressed. I did notice it the other week walking up a really big steep hill as well, and like I could feel it, heart racing and pounding in my whole head and everything, and I was like, I need to stop, and I just like literally 3 or 4 just really slowed down the breath, and the heart just went, whoosh, and I couldn't feel it anymore, and it just really settled, and I was like, I need to do this more often, really do. But yeah.
How are you measuring your heart rate in the sauna?
It's just a watch, so it's probably not 100% accurate, but I mean, I do observe it throughout the day, and it does respond to my activities. So yeah, yeah.
But isn't that fascinating? Because it's like this is a similar thing. People like I can think of one example of one guy on a golf course in Manchester last year, and he was clearly facing this shot that he was about to play. I could hear it in what he was saying. I could see
Mm,
it in his body, and he was clearly tensing up, and he was getting. We played probably about 9 holes by this point, half of a round. And he's playing all right. And then I'm like watching, thinking he's going to mess this right up because it's just tense. You can't tense up in golf. And so I sort of just said to him, like, take a breath, take a few breaths. And I did
mm,
it with him. He hit the best shot of the day
yeah,
for
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
then you're talking about 4 breaths there. I've been talking to one of the people that came to see me for a QHHT session. One of the questions I ask often is, do you meditate? Because a lot of the feedback from the subconscious in these sessions is we'd like people to meditate more. Now, I'm not sitting down on meditating at the moment, but I don't think I've ever meditated with, no, I have meditated with on. My preferred form is just to sit cross-legged on some yoga blocks and pay attention to my breathing and go and
Mm,
let whatever happens. But I haven't been doing that recently. But I've been telling people one breath is a meditation.
hmm.
One conscious, and I've got that. I've nicked that from Eckhart Tolle, who's
Yeah.
probably nicked it from somebody else. Nothing's original, but
Hmm.
sometimes if you need to be reminded, or you need to even hear it. So, like one breath is a meditation. I'm sort of saying, so you can meditate because a lot of people think they can't. By the way,
Yeah, yeah,
you find that.
yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I say quite a lot is a lot of schools of thought say you need to, pick a time of day, pick a space, use the same time, use the same space, make it kind of subdued, quiet, dark, sit in this certain position, do this, do that, and do the other. But I really struggled with that when I first started with my practice. I'm a lot more capable of doing it now. I can sit down and drop into meditation quite nicely. But what kind of got me through was just coming to the realization that, like you just said, any breath, anything that you're doing, you can just drop into the body, into the breath, into the moment, and just observe it. And that could be for just a second or 2 seconds, 3 seconds. In any sort, you could be on a busy train in a crowded room, and you can just stop and just take in the sounds, and take in the environment, and just be present. What did I say? I set you off.
Everything is connected, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going to call her C, who's the person that I was like, you can meditate.
yeah,
And I'm like, do you commute to work? Yeah, I get the train. There you go. It's actually
there
the
you go.
perfect place to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just talking about being on a train. It's like, oh my God. Right.
It is. It's exactly that. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And so
Yeah,
she actually fed back to me a week after the session saying, I've been doing it. And it's changed this commute for her. I'm not, she's done it because you can say what you want to people. Like, you can teach it to people and not do it yourself.
yeah,
But all of a sudden, she's now seeing her commute as a positive opportunity for growth. Wow.
yeah.
Did I really just say that out loud? Oh my word.
It's a true story. I teach in a lot of like gyms. So, there might be doors banging or blokes
Mm,
doing weights and weights clanging and stuff like that. And it can be while you're kind of meditating. And it's like, we'll take this opportunity to observe what comes up.
mm,
Are you being irritated by background noise? If you can meditate in a dark, quiet room while you're on your own, then great. But if you can sit in a playground of screaming kids and still find peace and tranquility, then you've nailed it. So it's the same, just taking that, use the background noises and the distractions to really just focus your attention. Are you distracted by that? Are you taken to that? Does that frustration and anger come up in you, or able to just let it just clang and bang in the background and just stay present and just stay tranquil and just stay with the thoughts? The thoughts may wander, but then they're going to come back and then they're going to go, and observe the reactions that come and go. And that's
mm.
that's let it be. Let it be. Your mind will wander, but let it wander.
That's
The
the
more you
point,
sit there
isn't
going,
it?
stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking, the more
Yeah,
resistance you build, the more resistance you're gonna get in it. So
that's the
yeah,
point, isn't it? And that's the
yeah,
lesson.
yeah,
It's a lesson for life as well, and we all fall into it because that's what we're programmed to do it, and it's part of the human condition, and the rest of it we like to control things. So it's kind of like my wife came up with that there was a situation this week that we were in, and not between the two of us, and she just goes to me, "Smile to your heart."
mm,
What? Smile to your heart.
mm,
Oh, okay, smile to your heart. And you can do that anywhere, can't you? You can do it.
yeah,
Nobody even needs to know. Smile to your heart. Give your heart a bit of, which then brings me on to something I wanted to talk to you about. Unless there's anything burning from that little
no,
communication. No.
I'm good at the minute.
So breathe, people. You know how to do it.
Yeah,
And,
just one breath at a time. One breath at a time. Even if it's just awareness on the breath.
yeah,
Start with awareness, and then you can start the control. But without awareness, you can't do anything, as we've said before. Yeah,
I reckon you don't even. I mean, personally, I think it's my opinion, but from all the things that we've done together and from all the other things that I've explored around this, I'm not even sure that. Oh, I do want to say one thing before we move on. I'm not complete. This is not what I wanted to say, but I'm not totally convinced that control is the key. I actually think it's the surrender that. I mean, you teach surrender, particularly in the yin classes. It's kind of the surrender that's important, the letting go a little bit. When you start to
Dep-
let go, yeah,
depends what you're doing, but yeah.
yeah, maybe awareness rather than control.
Yeah, definitely start with the awareness. But it depends what you're trying to do, doesn't it? Like the,
True.
the purpose of controlling the breath can, You can control your mind, you can control your mood, you can control your heart rate, as
Yeah.
I've given examples already. So you can warm the body up, you can cool the body down through breathing, you can change your emotional state. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. But I would say it starts with awareness.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, and then
from that
depending
point of view, the control
yeah,
point is
the
absolutely
control
yeah.
comes
I'm
into it.
not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the bit that I
I
kind
see
of
what.
I'm
Yeah.
a little bit haphazard around. I'll probably do it more than the average person, to be fair, but it's not. I would like it to be personally for me to be a little bit more discipline's probably not the right word, but a little bit more consistent with breathing techniques. But that's where I'm at the minute. And the subconscious is banging it into my brain, and I'm
Oh yeah.
spurting it out to everyone else. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, start keen listening. So
No,
keen
we
being.
trying not to swear this week.
No, not really. It's
I
just
don't even know whether I don't even know whether we have yet. It's that second nature. But anyway, that is
yeah,
something
it
that
is.
I wanted to
It's,
come back to this swearing. But before we move on to that,
you had something to say, which
yeah, they flew into my mind while you were speaking, and while
Mhm.
we were speaking about meditation, and then it flew out of my mind, and now it's flown back in.
Good.
And it was a guy called Kevin Dennison who taught me NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and towards the end of the course, he taught us a little meditation, which is literally 5 minutes sitting there, and it's not far off what you've taught in class. And basically, can you feel the breath at the end of your nose? That's
Mm,
all you have to do. And
mm,
every time your thoughts wander, come back to it. But what
yeah,
was important about that is he said, you probably won't do this, but if you don't do this, do you not love yourself enough? Do you not care about yourself enough to spend 5 minutes a day doing that? Think
mm,
about that.
mm,
5 minutes is nothing. You said, like, if you work in an office, go to the toilet and do it in a cubicle. 5 minutes is nothing. The world keeps turning. Nothing can go wrong, really. Well, everything can go wrong in 5 minutes in one sense, but usually speaking, nothing will go wrong. People won't even miss you for those 5 minutes. Go to the toilet, go to a little quiet space, just focus.
stare at your screen blankly if you're sitting in a computer. If you're sitting at a desk, just stare at your screen, hands on the keys, and just take that moment just
Yeah.
to switch off the
Or
world.
if you're in an office where they monitor your keystrokes, just sit there tapping the space bar in the notes app or whatever you can
Yeah,
do and let the rhythm do it.
you
So,
could go OM.
oh yeah, that's true.
No, more
Could you
AUM
do?
if
I've
you
got
want
my
proper AUM,
OM,
AUM,
OM.
AUM, AUM.
You do OM with one hand
There
with
you go. See,
right index finger and your. Is
there you
that,
go.
I'm not going to do it the other way around. That finger,
Middle finger.
middle finger, isn't it?
Yeah, that one. No swearing.
That one.
Yeah,
You do it with those two fingers.
yeah, those two. Yeah, that one or those two. It's up to you.
On. Seriously, I've just been doing it on.
There you
But if you
go.
wanted to do OAUM, it's a bit more tricky.
AUM.
And that
Yeah.
might. So he was like, don't you care? You need to learn to care about yourself enough to just give yourself 5 minutes of space.
Mm,
I would even reduce it to one breath and just because we go, I mean, if you pay attention to yourself, you're talking about your brain being full. When your brain's full, you forget to even do that.
mm,
One breath, one conscious breath. How hard is that? We could do it now.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that, but we don't do it.
No,
Why do we not do it? Because we're just like bombarded.
bombarded. External stimuli on the phone, on the computer, TV, blah blah blah, whatever is all
People.
bah 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 bah, and it just even yeah. When you're feeling frazzled, when you're feeling full up, and you got all this shit coming into you, just go right. Okay, you can all stop now.
And you've got two dickheads talking shite.
Yeah, that's it. Turn the podcast off. Go and breathe.
Go and have a breathe, but please come back.
Yeah, come back.
We
Come back.
interrupt this podcast for an important message from
Yeah.
these
Breathe.
businesses that
What
are
was I
going
going
to
to say
take all your
about
money.
breathe? Because when you talk about breathing as well, I mean, most people go, I can breathe. And it's like, yeah, we can all breathe, but how do you breathe? Like,
Yeah.
like I say, I don't know, I talk about it in class, don't I? Your chest breathing or belly breathing, hold your belly in to look good, but you're breathing into your chest, so you're not activating the lower portion of the lungs. So like, and people are like, oh, walk upstairs and I'm knackered. It's like, how often do you expand the whole body to use the whole set of lungs? Like, there's breathing and there's breathing.
And that's a revelation from like the yogic practices that, I've
Mm.
come to this late in life. And there are preconceptions about it for people out there. I had preconceptions. I didn't realize that that was a part of it.
Mm.
But it's amazing. That part of it's amazing. And if
Mm.
you think about it, like breath is life. I mean, try not to breathe.
Try not to breathe, yeah.
Try not to breathe, and then, in fact, that's not bad exercise, is it?
Mm.
Try not to breathe for a bit, and then once you've finished panting,
Yeah,
take a few conscious breaths.
yeah.
Um,
Realize how important it is.
yeah, so we're going to make some people hyperventilate now because one of the things that I wanted to raise, because I've been thinking about it all week or since the last time we recorded the podcast, and I even typed this into, well, I don't use Google, but a search engine, and it is,
Oh, interesting. What's your search engine then?
um, well, I use Safari,
Okay,
DuckDuckGo.
that go, yeah. I was
Uh,
told another one the other day, but I can't remember it, which is annoying.
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's better ones even than that. I mean,
Yeah, that's what he said. He said there was a better one than go, but I can't remember what it was
it
now.
took me years to wean myself off Google.
Yeah,
At first, right, we digress, but at first,
yeah,
DuckDuckGo was nowhere near as good as Google.
no.
And
And
it,
now it's like Google. It's not.
oh, damn.
Yeah,
Hopefully that running out of time thing
no, it doesn't pop up on the screen.
doesn't
It's all
pop
right.
up on the recording.
No.
So, um, that digression aside, I typed into DuckDuckGo. Um, can I still be spiritual and swear?
Yeah, yeah.
So somebody, yeah, I think so too. But somebody I know who's a QHHT practitioner was talking about somebody she met, and the phrase that stuck in my head from this was she. So she says she's spiritual, but she swears and curses like a trooper, or whatever the
Mm.
phrase was. Excuse me. And I'm like, yeah, but that's me, right? So I typed this into Google, DuckDuckGo, and all it came back with actually is, can you curse at a Christian? Can you swear at a Christian? Will a Christian be offended if you swear at them? And it was Christian, 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 Christian in this
Yeah,
result. It's like, what? I didn't look at any of them because I wanted, it wasn't on point really, was it? I wasn't
no.
asking if I'm a
But we
Christian.
did touch on that last week as well, didn't we? I think I
Yeah,
said it. Christians see themselves as spiritual, which obviously anyone that is pursuing the God in its various forms is spiritual, I suppose. But there's different degrees of it, I think. But yeah, yeah, it's not really related to your question, was it? So,
no, but I found it interesting that that's what the internet decided. I'm just trying to
well,
look in my notes. Huh?
I
Sorry.
remember thinking that when I first started doing yoga, I was like, I wonder how yogis behave. Like, are they, you know,
Yeah.
because when I first started yoga, it was when I wasn't that confident as well. So, or it's just finding myself, exposing it, finding different layers of myself. Because I'm still the same person, but I'm more vocal about it now, I guess. So yeah, that I mean that thought crossed my mind when I first started doing yoga. It's like how can like because I was brought up in church as well, so stuff like swearing was a taboo thing. You couldn't sit in church and go, "All right, you wanker." It's just not a done thing, is it?
But no,
It's just,
I may or may not have done it. Can neither confirm nor
yeah.
deny that rumor.
It's not the done thing. So like when I was like going into a yoga class, I was like, oh, I wonder if I can, because I've got a potty mouth. I swear all day long.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like how do you behave? How do these people behave? And then I went to a wedding with some of the guys that I met, and it was it was just a fest. The cigarettes are out, the booze was out, everyone's fucking you, fucking that, fucking me. And I was like, this is just like. just like my
I
normal
hope.
life. And it's like, yeah, yogis are just as fucked up as anybody else, really. So
So
yeah, I think
I looked up the definition of spiritual,
uh-huh.
looked it up again, and the primary definition in the Oxford English Dictionary, my one video boy, is relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And there's some more explanation. But it doesn't say there, thou shalt not
Christian.
swear.
No, no, no.
And that actually relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul. The soul is a bit different, but spirit, basically, is the non-physical
Yeah.
aspect of life. Okay, the
Mm,
soul is different, isn't it? The soul is what makes us who we are inside this meat suit or this body, this vessel. The body is not the soul is not the body. That
mm.
seems to be well understood and well accepted. Spirit is probably slightly different. Um, you have a spirit.
How is soul different to spirit then? So soul is spirit not consciousness? Is soul not consciousness, I wonder? How are the two
There
different?
was something about this in a book about the chakras in Kindle, and if I can find my bookmark, well, not, I'll find it. Eastern Body, Western Mind is the book. Um, and they actually come on, I don't know how to find. I am annotations. Here we go. Simply that. There we go. Um, in order to understand a human being, we have to examine the flow of energy through the system. We can think of this energy as excitement, charge, attention, awareness, or simply the life force. For example, chi, ki, prana. I understand that. Oh, actually, it's the wrong bloody quote. That, but it's still opposite because if you think about energy, is
Yeah.
probably the spirit. Spirit is energy. Soul is energy. We're all energy. The body is energy, though, isn't it?
Mm,
So I think where we're using like the soul is a concept of it's like the individuated soul, isn't it? The part of the God, the part of the source that came to have this experience here, um, as opposed to being part of a collective oneness.
hmm.
I think the spirit is relating to the movement of energy and the non-physical movement of energy, as opposed to
Yeah.
the body mechanics being the physical movement of energy, for the
Hmm.
purpose of this discussion. So if you
Yeah.
think about like spirit as the movement of energy and it's affected by everything around it, then as we were saying regularly in our descriptions, words have energy.
Mm,
So there is an element of it depends on why you're swearing, doesn't it?
yeah.
If it's a pure habit and it's just it doesn't really have anything behind it, and to some degree we both perhaps fall into this. Maybe that's not a great thing. But if there's a context behind it, and if it is there to release energy, for example,
Mm,
it's not bad to be angry, but it's
yeah.
bad to hold on to the anger. You have to release the anger, for example. And if you release the anger with a quick, "Oh God, you're a wanker," and it's done, yeah? I mean,
But
it's
don't
the same.
forget, by saying that, you're calling yourself a wanker. Don't forget.
Yes. Getting a bollocking from, we go back to getting a bollocking from God.
Getting a bollocking from
Um,
God.
and
Um,
so, what do you think of that? What's your reaction to that while I
well, I
try
did
to
have a reaction, but then I forgot it because we talked about bollocking from God.
Sorry.
Emphasis, yeah, yeah. Venom, it depends what's behind the words when you say it, isn't it? Because if you're using it to cause harm, then obviously that's when swearing's a problem. But you can use it. I like fitting swear words into words, so that's absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely
right, yeah,
to
yeah,
emphasize the greatness of something, maybe, So you
yeah.
can, I think that there's a place for them. I had this conversation on Sunday actually, and it's like I said it's a sign of higher intelligence, and the person I was talking to, Chris, he said it's showing a lack of vocabulary skills.
No,
So I was like,
I did actually mean to look this up, but apparently there are studies out there that have identified that people who swear more than others actually tend to have a larger vocabulary. And I'm being deadly serious now. So I will cop for this that I first saw that on Duck Quacks Don't Echo, a Lee Mack show.
There you
However,
go.
then because it was just like, and that show is about like what strange but true facts or whether they are or are not true. And apparently that, and so Rob Brydon, not Rob Brydon, the Welsh guy, the angry Welsh comedian. Doesn't matter. His first name's Rod. Rod Gilbert. RHOD Gilbert. He came
Hmm.
up with that fact and they analysed it and they have these panel of assessors and they're like, yeah. Actually, we've checked it out. It's correct. And
Yeah.
then I had a look for it. I mean, it was a while ago. Um,
Words are an interesting one as well, though. Words do have power and they do have, because they're frequency, aren't they? But at the
have
same
energy,
time,
don't they? Hmm.
yeah, they still lack depth and substance as well, I find personally. I think you can't use words to convey an emotion fully. So words are an interesting one because they do have energy, they do have power, but you can describe love with words, but to experience love is a very different thing, isn't it? Like so,
Yeah,
and pain and hurt and all the emotions, you can describe them, but to actually experience them is a very different, it's a much
correct.
raw, intense
But
experience than
also
emotional.
it brings it back to context is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Mm.
context is absolutely everything because you could write down a whole series of words and without the
Yeah.
context, you wouldn't really know what I mean. We're running out of time. We have
Yeah.
about 30 seconds left coming up. So, do you want to get any
Thank you,
swear?
thank you everybody for watching, because we don't say that enough, do we? Thank you everybody for watching, for starters. And
Namaste. Hmm.
namaste, motherfuckers. Yeah.
Namaste.